Very rarely you don't. So like even that chick that just took off, she was really cool. She was in her own way.
Yeah.
Like she was like in a fucking rugged adventure. I was looking at her like, dude, this girl's gonna have some adventures in Germany.
Oh, she went to Germany?
Cause she's like a big girl and it seems like she has like energy. She was like smiling at me and I'm like, not to think that everyone wants to fuck me, but I'm just like, when you're traveling, you're just like kind of on one. You're just like looking for connections.
That's funny.
And I was like, that type of outward energy is gonna get her far in the land of. I heard Germans are very forward.
Yeah, I think Germans are very forward, like blunt, like they don't fuck around.
That's why I told you she was changing her hair and wearing. I'm like, cool. She's like just all about her own thing.
When was that? I was trying to figure out when I went to
6
bed.
a.m.
Oh, it was early this morning.
Super early.
When did you come into bed? I didn't wake up, like I was the only one in here when I passed.
1:30.
Okay, so
She went to bed about 1, and I turned the light off for her. I was gonna come in, but
So I must have been in bed like around midnight. Woke up at like 8:30. I had so much energy. I was like, damn. Like if for some reason indica and weed, I sleep like a baby. Like nothing wakes me up.
no, that's good for your body.
Yeah.
You know what? You don't have a Fitbit, do you?
What's the? Oh no, what is the Fitbit
It's a
thing?
wristwatch thingy.
Oh, that tells you like how your sleep cycle.
Yeah, it's so
yeah.
dope.
That would be cool.
Because that might be giving you deep sleep, which is good for your body recuperation.
Yeah, I can feel it in my body. You know what I mean? And like I didn't go out. Last time I went out was. I don't remember. Sometime over the weekend. Saturday maybe.
A couple days ago.
Yeah, I stayed in at least 2 or 3 days, but I had gone out like almost consistently since I've been here, with the exception of like a couple of days.
Actually, I think you went out Friday and you took the weekend off. No, Thursday. Because no one was going out Friday. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
me, you, and JJ.
That's
'Cause
right.
I thought about that, but I was feeling sick. Davina was trying to get me to go out.
Yeah.
And then Saturday was just 2 days ago, and that was
Yeah.
homeboy Lonzo. He stayed here Saturday, Sunday, and then we just got her Sunday, Monday. That made sense.
Yeah, that's right. So Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night.
You stayed out one of those nights actually, because Lonzo didn't come
Thursday.
home the second night, which was Sunday night. Did you stay out Sunday?
No.
Oh.
The last time I stayed out, it was I think on your birthday, and you were gonna tell me if you were gonna go to Brooklyn, and I went to
Oh, shit,
Gumbo,
yeah.
and you went.
I remember that, yeah.
That was so I got home Friday, slept Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night.
If I wasn't sick, I would have raged you. I would have gone somewhere. But like, I didn't want to push it. I'm already still getting into arguments with my folks, which might have a point, but they're still telling me that I'm not quite rational still. I'm still kind of like fading back into rationality. I'm like, there's no reason for me to be arguing.
No, what's rational?
Rational is when you're in that mind state where you just feel like you're really good at solving problems, especially since you're like you're like a project manager with your business or whatever you're doing. You got to kind of have an even head when you're dealing with shit, because especially when you're dealing with shit below you, if you escalate it, then people below you are just antagonizing downwards. So from the top down should always be calm energy.
Yeah, definitely agree.
So especially if you're trying to claim the authority in an argument or like in a family situation or everything else, you want to be the more sane person. So once you start getting emotional, everyone else is, you lose perspective. So those types of things of like, I'm still cycling through little fits of ego, but it's interesting. It's fucking one of the reasons why I decided not to go. That's what. So I'm thinking about just fucking going to Puerto Rico without the laptop or anything, and just really taking 2 weeks off of technology, everything, and just like you'd feel pretty confident about yourself after something like that.
How much of the island is rebuilt, or like? I haven't read about it for a while, but
so I'm going to an island removed from the island.
Okay.
So I go to Vieques, which is only 4 miles by 20 miles. So the island's only 40%, 30% rebuilt. Vieques is like, it's terrible. So there's some people there.
Vieques is terrible.
They might still be. That's why I'm going to check it out. But they might. I don't think they're on donated food anymore. But for like all the way through December, they were on like rations from the military and shit. Like the National Guard was feeding them.
That's crazy.
And I know they put bladders everywhere for water. You'd have to go to this huge like bladder, like a portable water tank.
Oh yeah, I saw something about that. Like you could have like 6 gallons a day, or like some allotment of water.
It's just like whatever you're doing in life, and you have all your justifications and things you're trying to do this concert and stuff. Sometimes you just like remember what's important, and like I'm like I don't want to go there in a year and ask people how it was. I want to go there as soon as I can, which is now. I have the ability, and walk around, talk to people that I know, and like do what I used to do. I used to walk all the streets of the island. Like that island's twice as big as Manhattan. So for a couple of years, I would like just walk around that island barefoot. And I knew a lot of people. I knew like shaman dude who said he was like the shaman on the beach. I lived with his family, and he would keep the hurricanes away.
Oh, that's funny.
He was crazy, but like safe. Like
Yeah.
if you interact with him, he'd be like, "Go stand over there," and you can either entertain him or you can be like, "Fuck off, Charlie." There's like a.
That's funny. Is it warm there now? Like opposite weather?
It's always warm, yeah.
It's always warm.
70 to 80, 80 in the summer, 70 in the winter. And I mean, not even 70, 75. It's naked weather.
Yeah.
When you get down there, you're like, this is how human beings are supposed to live. Like everything else is an adventure, but this is like,
Yeah.
seems like it's a thermostat of like the world is like
Yeah.
set for a human.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, you don't really have to wear clothes and like a t-shirt and shorts. So that's what I dressed in that climate. Like,
Yeah.
everything is it's just a very. Well, I'll come back with pictures and shit. I'll shoot you an email after this trip, and fucking yeah, you'll want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's what's at the front of my mind.
To go there versus stay, and you'd go there just to like reset.
I don't know. You only want to put a little bit of intention into life. I
Mhm.
find so.
Yeah.
I know if I think that my intention of going there is pure,
Yeah.
then I follow that. But if I lead too much intention,
Mm-hmm.
you trap the experience.
Mhm.
So like if I like kind of like maybe want to like experience like a little bit of romance,
Mm-hmm.
that little of intention is enough. But if I think about a specific person
Person.
or finding a tourist, then you're
That's
narrowing your choices.
Yeah.
So if you just feel like you're not being selfish, you're living a good path, and
Mhm.
I'm really going to experience, like be a witness. I'll go and talk to people, take some probably interviews, think of a long form journalism project it could turn into.
That's cool.
And at the end of that, you'll have that documents and you'll think differently.
Mhm.
And along the way, you probably partied and met some cool
Yeah.
people. And
Definitely.
but yeah, it's a place where you can ride like the energy like that. You can just kind of like go with the flow, and you just run into people
Yeah.
from your first day, especially if you plan it right. Like stay in a hostel the first couple days.
Mhm.
Yeah, you'll run into a couple different waves, and then you can decide to catch one. Or
Mm-hmm.
I met these girls. They couldn't get into their hostel, and I picked the lock for them. They're like, "That was cool." They're drunk, and they stumbled back home with a coke dealer, fucking guy all dressed in black. And I just get out of the cab, and the cabbie told me, "Oh, there's a hostel," because I was gonna surprise my sister for 420.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, and then she was at a concert in San Juan, and I was like, but I've learned in the past that like, surprise is great, but like she might not have room for me. She might be staying. Wish she was staying with friends.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm gonna get a hostel and then drop my stuff. Then surprise it would be like, I got a place though, no stress, just. So the cabbie's like, there's a hostel where those people are. And so I walk up and they can't get in, they can't work the lock. So I pick in. They're like, oh, that was pretty badass. No, they were like, that's pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, I'm a bit of a badass, just joking around.
Yeah.
But then so they invite me up to the room on the top, and then fucking the coke guy is feeling like, oh shit, this just ruined my fucking game. So he's like busting out all the coke, being like, hey, you guys want to do lines? And I'm like, dude, I could roll like that. So like, I don't know what if he was trying to, but like, so we did all this coke, and then once he was out of coke, he was like, all right, I'm out of here. And I'm like, because he could have hung out or he could have been chill, but I think he felt insecure or something. And that's just me and the chicks, and then fucking. Yeah, and then we just start talking and we're yacked out, and then we take some other pills, and then fucking one of them's passing out because they're on a bender. They're like, we just did coke off the stripper's ass, and they're showing these pictures. There's some white girls from Brooklyn. One of them was yeah, they're school teachers.
That's cool.
Doing some Teach for America.
Oh, that's funny.
Like they But anyways, that was like a crazy wave. So that was the beginning of we kind of like made friends. I told them, look, can I kick you some money and throw my shit here? I'm going to talk to my sister, but just give me the key and I'll come back if I can. I'll sleep on the floor, whatever. They're like, no, you can sleep in the bed. Don't be a creep. And then we talked so much. I was like, you know what? I'll just hit up my sister in the morning. You guys want to come to Vieques? What are you doing? And then one of the girls was like, yeah, we should totally do it. And I was like, all right. So we go start sleeping, and we're kind of like, yeah, we did a lot of blow, and then we just decided to go to sleep. But one of the girls took a pill and she passed out. It started getting weird because we were on like these party wave, and then so I started hooking up with the other girl in the bed like halfway through the night. It's just like something that just happened, and then we're actually like going at it, and then her friend wakes up and was like, you're really gonna fuck a random guy while I'm trying to fucking get some sleep, and we've been partying for it. And I was like, whoa, that like type of energy opened up. And I was like, and then the girl I was just with, she was like, yeah, you have to go. And I was like, and now it's like 4 a.m. and so I go in and grab my shit, and I'm still like, my head's all over the place, and I'm like, that was crazy. And then I went and sat on like a bench until like one of the breakfast places opened, and I was like, that was a weird introduction to the island. Like I got out of the cab and I was like, all right. And then they ended up coming to Vieques, and we hung out for like a week.
That's cool.
They're like, the other girl's like, I'm sorry if I was bitch, and I was like, no, dude, that was like, I probably shouldn't have tried to take it there.
It's a fucked up situation. I mean, it's not. Anything can happen.
It's that type of island where like my brother had a lot of friends there. That's how I started going down there. You'll just run into people, and then you'll just start doing or hanging out with them, and then you'll like be at a cool place, you'll be like, and then you just if you leave stuff open, you just keep following whatever. You end up on. I know girls are like way better at that because like the dudes with money are always looking for company. But she would be jumping on boats, like island hopping, dating drug dealers, then dating cops. It's a fucking, it's an interesting place. It feels real.
Yeah, New York feels very real to me.
Yeah, it feels like that type of
real. Yeah.
Were you born in LA? It seems like.
No, I was actually born outside of Pennsylvania.
Were you born in LA?
I wasn't born.
Like, were you not?
Like from college, so like like a significant amount of my life was in LA.
No, I mean like BORED, like bored.
Oh, bored.
Yeah. I was like, how do I get this across?
Yeah. You have to spell it for me. Was I bored in LA? I feel like I did LA, like definitely had conquered LA. I never thought I was bored, but I think I was actually bored being there.
Yeah, because sometimes, I would always say this when I was in Vieques. I'd be like, you don't know that you're unhappy until you're happy again. So sometimes you just survive and your body's like, just don't even think about it. But once you're happy again, you're like, shit, I was unhappy. Like, I didn't recognize that as depression until I'm like safe enough mentally to be like, all right, that's like from perspective.
Yeah.
If that's not depression, what is?
Right.
And you're just kind of going through the motions. I find when you're looking at the calendar too much, when you're just waiting for time to pass, it's like, shit, that's your life. You shouldn't just be like waiting for the next. You should feel exciting, right?
Yeah.
You feel excited here, right?
Definitely. Yeah, it's weird. Like, that's what, like in LA, it's not exciting. It's like when I wake up here and like go outside, I'm like, shit. There's like it feels like the world is right here.
What you'll feel is overwhelmed, but you won't feel bored.
Right.
Like you'll never feel bored in New York. Sometimes you'll feel tired of it, and that's why you get cranky.
Yeah.
Like, but
yeah, you never get bored. Even just walking those streets you told me about yesterday, like that's just like one block in one small part of New York. There's so much to do, and there were so many people out, and it was a Sunday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you like people, you could always be around people.
I like people. I mean, I feel like I always meet people that I like.
Have you met a couple people since you've been here?
Yeah.
Fucking that's a good place to like call a home, like to make a neighborhood. To do that consistently over time, I found it's the greatest luxury in New York. That's what I'm trying to earn, like to invest in a community and your routes. I think you could do that with any geographic area, but like you have to choose to do it. Like for LA, you have to choose to spend a good 5-10 years there. Like that's why I'm going to Vieques. I want to put some time, even if it's a couple weeks back into the island, walk the streets. People sort of know that I'm out there. And you're like, fucking New York's it. You're kind of on the fence, huh? You're kind of thinking about moving here.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's kind of hard. I'm just like, I mean, I don't have to do anything in LA. And the project is here until September, and it's like big, and I like being in the energy of it. And I meet people here that are like interested in it. You know what I mean? Like,
you'd be the new wave. That's like definitely the consciousness here is a little bit lower than LA. That's like a hippie. I don't know how else to put it. Like people who live in nicer places, I think, have one less stress. I don't know what it is. I don't run across as many ideas like that over here. Maybe I just don't know the scene. I don't know. It should be the same people everywhere, I would think.
I don't know.
Cities, it's big. It's urban and suburban. Urban areas should have a similar ethos. So, have you done any of your type of? I mean, but what are you talking about? Are you talking about the business side or like the political side, the ethical side?
For here, you mean when you like the people that I meet here?
Or like the stuff that you're doing.
Both. I mean, like the political. So I don't like. There's no political agenda for me other than like bringing all different political thought together and making them like throwing a party.
I like that. That's where we kind of vibe, is because those first couple conversations we had, I was like, yeah, you just got to have a party until the change happens. Like, don't fucking do it negatively.
Yeah. There's people are yelling.
You know what it is? It comes from a personal philosophy. You seem like a chill person. You know how to live your life in a chill way. Once you've learned that, you can spread wisdom. But if you haven't learned that yet, that's the first thing you have to work on. So like you're spreading that same thing that like leads to you being able to travel well and everything.
Totally.
But that's a really weird. That's the point of life, is to live a life worth sharing the wisdom from. But there's no real straight path there. You didn't study that at school.
Yeah.
You had to travel a little bit, meet people. I mean, it sounds like an egotistical way to say it, but like there's some truth to that.
Definitely, it's like the basis of all religion.
Yeah. Are you religious?
No, not specifically, but I mean, I like know a lot about a lot of religions and spiritual ways of thinking.
Yeah, I love comparative religion books, so you can like quickly balance it out with another perspective.
But like the basic gist of it all is, like, whether it's God or you or your subconscious, to like love and be happy, and that you can attain whatever you want.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
They just have different gods and different.
Love is just like the beginning of an intention. Just start with a good intention. It's like, because you don't gotta define it. People get all like analytic about everything. It's like, just if you have any value structure at all in life, as far as if you've ever experienced anything good, and whatever the core of that goodness was, and try to replicate that.
Yeah.
Because it had value to you, and it might have value to other people. You can fill in the words however you want. I think all the people who are fucking the world over are fucking it over in what they perceive to be the good way.
Probably. They think they're doing the best thing.
Just people who want control. A lot of people like really want control, and then they don't believe a world can exist without control. So, and then once you go down that like sociopathic, like, as long as you have benevolent intentions, you can hide all sorts of bullshit behind those benevolent intentions. So like, but that's why also the party's so important, because the party philosophy, I guess you could call it, because you can't counter benevolent intentions with negativity, because they'll claim the moral high ground. And then it takes time to deconstruct their benevolent intentions, which takes like, and then we're all stressed out. We don't have the people who are trying to make that argument. So in the meantime, to have a true counter to what is really negativity behind those benevolent intentions, you need positivity. But it sounds counterintuitive. So it's like, wait, you guys are gonna like be happy while the world burns? It's like, what the fuck else can you do? Because let's say we lose, and let's say world actually ends. What would you do?
Right.
I'd still enjoy my life.
Yeah.
So you gotta like plan for the worst. And if your plan for the worst is a party, then it's actually not that bad of a situation.
Yeah. All that energy of happiness, you know, is what it really does in the universe.
Exactly. All the ideas that come out of it, that's like, yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Positive connections and shit. I think about that. Place like New York, man, you like, my small little connections, sometimes I forget. Like, I think I send a little negativity out there towards homeless, or towards like, there's a little bit of aggression in the, even just walking around the street. I feel it as a good thing. I feel like it's like, just, it makes you tougher, but I wonder if that, I don't know, contradicts what I just said. Well, that was just to balance it out. So like, the party's one thing, and then there's going to be other stuff too. But like, the positivity has to happen. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. That's my wisdom. I'm trying to learn it. Like, there's many answers, instead of trying not to get mad when other people don't have your answers, or that you have to join everyone else's answer. That inclusivity is like, that's the ego thing. I'm pretty sure that's like the main, one of the first things to work on, is like the ego and shit. I'm stoked for it. That's crazy that you it's so far away though. It's like, what, September?
Yeah, there's like a lot of shit to do.
Really?
Like, yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, dude, he's got the easiest job in the world. He just hangs out.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of different things that go into it. Like, I'm gonna try to get it streamed like on Netflix or something. Like, I've never streamed anything live on Netflix, but like, that would be an idea for a sponsor. Netflix sponsor it. And there's this theater on the island right next to the concert site that was like an old, it's a 500 seat, like, old, when the generals and the war people lived there, movie theater, but it works. So Netflix could sponsor it and like live stream it and then stream their original shows during the concert that are like maybe some political tie-in. I don't know all the Netflix shows, but I do want it live streamed, so that's one process.
That's an interesting idea though, because you're like, that's smart to be like, we'll get Netflix and we'll offer them like a way to like advertise their shit.
They could even do it for like the month of September. Like
so the theater works? It's a functional theater?
They just nobody.
Have you walked the grounds already? You reserved it?
Yeah, I walked the grounds like the day after I got here. I think.
It's crazy how open it is though. You can still do whatever. You still are looking for the talent.
Still what?
Looking for the talent.
Talent for the concert? Well, I kind of thought like, so May, June, July, like 2 different campaigns to get people to know about it. Like May, June, July is one, and that's like maybe I'd let everyone else vote for their artists that they want to perform. Like give them a list of maybe people that are available, or just let them pick whoever. So they're more included in it from the beginning.
People aren't gonna fuck you? Sometimes those polls get fucked with if people like just want to.
I would take the polls. Oh, you mean like people aren't going to vote a bunch of times or something?
Or just vote for the worst ones just to mess with you?
Oh, I don't know.
Probably not. When the big name people try to do stuff like that, they always fuck with those polls. When they're like, send Pitbull to any city in America, they send it to Alaska. So some city with like 50 people.
Oh, really?
And then he rocked it. He went there and he fucking had a concert and they loved it. He brought them food and shit and he was like, cool dude, I'll go to any fans. But he made it into a positive, but
yeah, people are
dirtbags in a funny way. But no, it's probably like, this would be a positive thing. People would want to.
Well, I would pick ultimately, so it's like Barney. That's funny. I was
thinking like Weird Al or something.
Yeah.
But Weird Al's good.
So that's what the people want.
Dude, you know what? If you had the big third political party, then it would fucking attract bigger celebrities, I think.
The third political party, yeah.
I'll make you a proposal. I'll like go and find the interest of big name celebrities who would support a third political party concert.
Well, I feel like it could spin off, like the third political party could spin off of the concert, like be incorporated into it, because you have all those Republicans, Democrats, Independents, like all, in one that would join this party.
I'm right there.
As
I'm
the
not
new
even
party.
Yeah, I'm not even. I wouldn't be talking about if I didn't think it was going to be an awesome thing. It's part of the.
Great.
It's part of the zeitgeist.
Oh, but the thing that I thought about it, like for voting, was Bernie Sanders wasn't there something where, okay, so if you're voting for the best of two evils, like if it was Trump and Hillary Clinton, say like you hated both of them, but who do you think would be better out of the two? You would vote for one. So if there's a third party, does it take away the votes from the lesser evil? I don't know if that's a good example. But to go to the third party, so neither one actually wins?
Well, I think that's a framing issue of that question. I don't think that's the right way to parse that relationship. You're saying there's a relationship between people's actions, and then like you're starting to describe them as like voting and taking away. It's like
there's let's say there's 10,000 Republicans and 10,000 Democrats that are voting. So let's say of this last race, like Trump could have been seen as the more evil of Hillary, but a lot of people also thought Hillary was evil. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I'm just curious. So you have 10,000 Republicans and then you have this new third party candidate. Yeah. And either the third party could work and have their own candidate, or the third party could endorse one of the two. Like I don't know what your you know what I mean, what your thought process was. But so then Hillary and these 10,000 Democrats, half of them, because they're closer to the mindset of what we want as a collective conscious, so 5 vote for Hillary, 5 vote for the third party, but 10 still vote for the bad one. So for sure the bad one will win if you introduce a third party that's too close to, like I don't know if that happens. Or if the third party just endorsed the better, or maybe like on local levels.
So you'd have to trace what you just said, lay it out like a logical argument, like you would assign numbers to it, like 2 plus 4 equals 6, and then that's how you figure it. So what you just said is there's like Trump, and but it would take a little bit longer, and I don't know if it's worth the issue, but like, well, I make that argument, I'll talk about that, but like, you have Trump, you have Hillary, you have Bernie, and Trump is the worst, Hillary's the middle, Bernie's the best. If we support Bernie and affect the chances of Hillary winning against Trump, now we've got the evil, and so shouldn't we instead combine forces or something like that?
Yeah.
That's not really how the real. That's a simplification of the real world, and so the short answer would be the real world is more complex than making decisions by those types of simplifications. How, because we have to define how are we valuing Trump as evil and Hillary as less evil and Bernie as good. Like that simplification alone might be fatal enough to stop this from having any application in the real world. If Trump and Hillary are Trump's evil and Hillary's less evil, but they're both lockstep going to march us into World War III, which is going to be catastrophic for the human race and cause species extinction, then no matter what Bernie's chances are, the only moral
is to vote
for him, because he's our only option.
Right.
That's pretty much a simplification of where I'm at, is that there are variances in evil, although they might be great, or they might not. Some people think Hillary's as evil. It's not for me to judge. They both have certain mistakes in their thinking and logic and systems that they support, which are fatal to our species. That's the only reason I'm getting into politics. I wanted to make money until I was like 50, live a life, get family, and but then I was starting to realize that some things that are happening right now are catastrophic, and that's all the scientists have said, and other people. I'm just another smart person. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a smart person in a field where I've been established. I think I'm smart enough to realize like there's something maybe I can do to because that's what I said. Like I'm doing the Bernie vote right now. I'm doing a little part I see, which might push things. Everyone has to add their own 2 cents.
But also, what you don't think, in the opposite of what I said, is so you have the three, half of your Hillary, go to the third party. The goal and what would happen is half of also Donald Trump would go to your party, so you'd win the 10.
But you're thinking in numbers, because what we're doing is just a bad metaphor. You're saying, because we're saying people and we're saying votes, and now you're talking about halves and this and that, like the fractions and stuff. But that's not how people and votes work. We work through stories and culture. So we don't work in numbers and fractions. We work in narratives and values and stories and metaphors. And so that's why when I've been talking to you, I've been talking in the language of metaphors and words. You've been talking, so most of your logic relies in fractions and half, and you made an equation in your head. That's a rational way to speak. But like human behavior behaves on the subconscious level. And so I'm interested in, when I come into the equation of politics, using
that's a different kind of definitely
how we communicate before the rational sort of view. That's what marketing is. So it's not just you're like, whoa, Shaz, what you're trying to be some psychological super genius, brainwashing everyone. It's like no, I just want to be on par with Ford and McDonald's and all of corporate science in the age of marketing, where they're behavior modifying you in the blink of nanoseconds to so it's like, I think I'm just catching up to where technology's at. I'm not. I think you could be as creative as you want, and you won't be more creative than the people who are being paid best for the job in these like think tanks and shit, right? So but so that's what we get in the media, those types of analysis, and that's what we get in like the basic education. But the people who are actually affecting the world are the ones who are like marketing our stories. That's why I watched Coco, that Disney movie. That was a marketing for a culture, nationalism in the United States, Disney as a curator of culture, and then you had merchandise all up and down that tree that they can sell, and and music. And
that's cool. Coco, it's called.
It's a Disney movie, but
I think I saw. I keep seeing. I see it in my head. The Coco logo.
That's what I mean. So we're trying to talk to understand each other's view, but you're doing the same thing, because you're not politically getting involved to like argue policy. You're creating an event around which stories are going to be created. Focal points like concerts and stuff is where you meet people, you fucking have great times, you so I was thinking about, that's really weird. I got to there like politically, just thinking about what's the best thing you can do for society, and any focal point that brings people together with a positive energy is going to generate some good energy, and then some good, because this current system is supported by alienation, and that's something we all intuitively feel. Is that you're a good consumer when you just shut up and go to your job and fucking buy your products because you have low self-esteem because we tell you you do. And once you don't, like you have nice shit, I have nice shit, but once you don't need nice shit, you have nice shit if you want something nice, but you don't need all the nice shit. Like I'm pretty sure your energy since you've been here hasn't been like, I'm gonna go down Broadway shopping.
Yeah.
Like that poor kid who came from Baltimore, he was cool, but like he definitely had to get shopping trips in, or else it wouldn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Fucking so yeah, there's something noble in what you're doing. I'm just still trying to like put words on it.
When there's the opportunity for the message and the story to come out of it. So like that's also what my mind is not as having trouble thinking, but I go and like when you think of space and you think of like we're in the universe, like how your mind sort of trips further out. Like the messaging could be, maybe it's simple, but
yeah, that's all I spend my whole day there tripping out. But the messaging for fucking for what you're so yeah, you're at the highest level basically is what you just told me. So when we're thinking about this thing as a brand or an event or something, but what is like the value or the culture at the highest level that we're kind of like embodying? What do we want people to take from this? And you don't necessarily mean text that they're gonna see.
Right.
You mean just the feeling. Like I could give you, when I think like that, I like to give a couple examples to practice. Like Burning Man would be like sort of like utopia, but also like fucking like sexual liberation. Liberation from all constraints would be like the thing. It's not just sexual, not just government, but also artistic expression. So like there would be like liberation from all constraints, so the human can be an artist, express himself artistically would probably be the Burning Man thing. You want to like, which is ironic that they have a bunch of narcs and shit walking around.
They do.
Yeah, I haven't been, and I think it's still low key. You can be cool, but they do technically anything like
That's
that
crazy.
to comply with like the state. You have to have a couple.
Yeah.
But if they're good guys and it, like you satisfy the law, but maybe you hire security that like are chill, so you know the company and they're gonna be chill. Fucking so what would yours be?
It's like empowerment, unity, strength. Like I try to think of like adjectives.
So that's what you care about, unity.
Like, people, I want them to be, I care that people are happy together. At least, like, if I can do anything to make, 10 people happier together, it spreads. Like, just a positive. Like, I don't even like to, like, some people can think of the negative, but there's no reason to even go there. I think everyone can come together and make the right decision and vote for the third candidate.
Hey, well, no, I mean, like, I don't try to get caught up too much on the politics, because I gotta say what I believe, because I gotta keep myself focused on problem solving, because I actually think I'm getting to somewhere in a logical argument. But as far as the rest of us, we're all gonna meet up on the same path, so it would be, like, that's where communism and this other stuff that believes in vanguardism, that certain people hold the answers, leave the whole, like, it has to be prefigurative. An anarchist ideal is that prefigurative politics means that your means are in accordance with your ends. You can't do that ends justify the means. And so you want to, so like however people act is however they're supposed to act. And we all, like, if they don't act in what I believe is the right way, we're either not having the right conversation or I'm wrong. But like if people consistently, act against their own interests, then maybe I question all of my ideas. Or you just have to eventually be misanthropic and be like, all right, well, people just don't deserve to be free or something. But I still am very hopeful that, like, in my life experience, people have always, when shown the facts in a clear manner, for the majority, like, are rational. And it's actually a myth in our culture that people behave irrationally without authority, like Lord of the Flies and shit like that, where like the boys went. When I was like growing up, I've been like isolated incidents with people before, and we become pretty good at self-governing as long as you have a couple strong personalities to keep the peace. But you fucking and they've done psychological studies that like the aggressive alpha male in like cave collapses. The aggressive alpha male will be the immediate leader during time of catastrophe when like fucking the cave is still collapsing and they're all trying to make sure they're safe, and they fucking check what supplies they have and shit like that. But then soon a female type leader is elevated in the group, and they just went and they studied some of these instances, and like they're not the aggressive one, but they're the best communicator who checks in on everyone, because at the beginning you need direct, quick, decisive action. So you need that loud person, but then you need everyone to stay happy, because your biggest threat is like long-term survival and keeping your energy cool. So you need that communicator. So there's like, so if you relate that to us as a society talking about politics, that same energy is going out politically. There'll be time for a loud Trump type person shouting and shit, but that's like, and that's what's so scary, because like Trump is the the only time Trump would be a normal president is under times of war. So we're either going to get rid of him or he's going to start a war.
Definitely.
Those are the only two options.
Yeah.
Because this isn't sustainable. What's going on right now? Like, no one, we're exhausted. Everyone is. He's exhausted.
Yeah.
But and that's so sad that like you could exhaust yourself into annihilation. Like, if he's exhausted, we're exhausted. All of our subconscious, all of our intentions sort of go into like, you know what, a war would be better than this, dude.
Exhaust yourself into annihilation. Yeah.
Fucking.
That's the strategy.
I mean, I don't know. That's what, if you look at, I'm just trying to document politically what I believe, so I've been trying to look more into stuff. And NATO has pushed right up to Russia's doorstep, and the whole time we're escalating our rhetoric against Russia. So it's like if a country was slowly taking over or creating a military alliance with all the countries in Central America, climbing all the way up to Mexico. We'd be like, all right.
Totally.
And then also they start talking to Canada. We'd be like, we'd start freaking out, and that's what Russia seems to be freaking out. And they're fucking killing their spies in Britain. They're freaking out, dude. That's another reason I like the party idea. It's like, get people on a chill vibe.
Yeah. They should. Okay.
True.
So did you read that? There's the thing in The Guardian, I think yesterday. Steve Bannon's psychological warfare tool, like the...
Oh, he's all about... He openly said he wants World War III. He says he wants the end of the times.
But this was the kid that, like, I don't know. Do you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so then... Okay, so look at this next picture, though. See, look at his face. And I go like that. That was from, like, 2 years ago.
Wait, who's the... That's him on the... Oh, that guy right there?
Look at the pink-haired dude. Is that not the same person? Or no?
It is. Is it not? Wait.
Yeah.
What do you mean, what?
I think it is.
Oh, you're saying he was behind you in the store?
Yeah, in a party, like,
oh,
in
shit!
LA.
That's so crazy!
Yeah.
That's so...
Is
Oh,
that
my gosh!
fucked up?
You're in that scene.
Is that fucked up?
Dude, you're in that scene.
But
He's fucking... He parties with you.
So
you partied with the guy who fucking... I created Steve Bannon's psychological warfare tool.
Took all the data from Facebook. Yeah, it's not that.
See, so I was on this a couple years ago. When Trump won, I was like starting to look into how he won. And they just had better analytics. So Republicans have a very cool thing where their propaganda... Well, they stay in power by convincing stupid people to vote against their own interest and poor people. And so the propaganda is all the lowest denominator. But if you confuse that for your actual target, the Republicans themselves, you'll be underestimating them. They actually are rich guys who executed in business. So they're like me or you. They know how to problem solve. And so they have how to get votes pretty good as far as like using big data, and they have the best analytic firms. And I saw that from Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon is a fucking Goldman Sachs guy. Those guys don't sleep. They don't really fucking make mistakes. They have the best data. They have the best, what is it, quants or whatever. They're crunching all the numbers, and so they've applied that to politics, and they've gotten some pretty cool tools. This isn't their best tool. Like, I don't think they're really weak and shit. I think maybe fucking...
I think what he did, didn't he took, like, I forget how many millions of Facebook users' information, and they analyzed it so they could figure out psychologically how to get them, those specific groups within that.
You know what, I just signed up for this, I just signed up for a thing to take your info off of those companies. I think it might be his company or another company, but you can do that. Let me tell you real quick. You could ask them to take your info off of these marketing lists, and this is supposed to be Axiom is ACXIOM. Marketing data products, and they have over 15 million people or something.
Okay.
And so I was reading this online, and then they someone put this link and said that you can go to the link. I'll email it to you and opt out. But yeah, they say the name of the company is ACXIOM. They're like companies. It's hard to they're in the business of processing data, so they know real good about what it is. So it's hard. names that are hard to say are companies that don't want to be found.
Not remembered. Yeah.
Like there's this other one, Blackwater, was way too catchy. They turned into Shiani or I don't even know. It had like 2 X's and a couple I's. Fucking, that's interesting.
So the Republicans, just the wealthy, intelligent Republican class, figured out how to get the not as intelligent middle America to vote for them.
Yeah. And then what does the Democrats do? Because I don't think the Democrats are good either. They take that fat middle. Because these are just power structures who are fucking us, right? So you have to assume that everyone at the top is crooked because we've had complete breakdown in logic. Trump can only win if there's a complete breakdown in the system. So you just have to assume that there's no one in charge anymore. Or it's like super malicious. But let's just like, the easiest solution is that both systems are corrupted beyond repair. Republicans should have, any respectable person would have stopped that train, even if Hillary was going to be the candidate, out of like love of the nation, like the type of damage he's talking about, executing drug dealers now.
He is, right?
He's got a proposal plan. He might have already.
The death penalty for drug dealers.
For opioid dealers.
What's opioids? Like
heroin.
Heroin dealers.
So I have a friend, and she's recovering from heroin. Bad. You know, if you're trying to get it, you either trade it. If you have some, you get more, or you. So even people who don't sell full time, fucking, if they have an addiction and they have some, or they need some, it might pass hands, and money might pass hands.
Yeah, and you could be a dealer and go to
technically.
death.
My brother got for distribution in New York for marijuana for passing his friend a joint.
Oh, yeah, you told me that.
Fucking undercover homeless guy.
That's
we got the money to dress cops up as homeless people, but we don't have the money to help homeless people.
That's weird. Yeah, that's fucked up.
That is.
Why don't they help homeless?
That's like saying if there's someone being lynched, and then you go and you dress someone up as someone being lynched right next to him, in order to try to catch the lynchers.
Right.
That's fucking really weird. It shows you kind of what side they're on.
Didn't New York have a period where like the homeless was good and like not good but taken? Yeah.
It's not New York. New York. These are symptoms of the social situation. And so we had a jobless recovery. We all said that. Like we could by now we're old enough. We should be able to explain 20 years of economic history because that happened during our adult rational. If you were observing what happened, fucking after Clinton and shit. But like in 2000, we had they said that we were going to run into a recession or a depression, but then we had the war. So we had the Twin Towers, and then fucking 2001, and then we had the beginning of an artificial boom to 2008 because war fueled economy. So a lot of money went into the economy. I was thinking about going to upstate New York at that time and buying a house because like I was still working out my politics, but I was trying to recognize stuff. I'm like, well, I should make money off of the trends that I'm seeing. So I thought I was going to go to upstate New York, buy a house, but then I just like got another idea and give up on that. But I would have caught that whole 2000 to 2008 housing boom because I kind of felt it, that this is all artificial. Afterwards, I learned about the China buying our bonds to keep our rates artificially low. So there might have been, there's some sort of like, there were interests that aligned to keep a housing market artificially primed with historically low rates. And that was basically free money. And then also regulation on the lending was lax from the top down. And then there was a third thing that they created a fake insurance market to handle all the risk. And so you had that created a lot of positive things for the economy. And then we had to just pay at 2008. So people were buying Signature. My dad did one of the last ones right before they started regulating everything and everything was collapsing. It's called a ninja loan. No income, no assets. So you don't have to show any income, any assets. If you have a good credit score, I could write a signature on a paper and get a $600,000 home. That then I can take a fucking second mortgage out or whatever, or money out or fucking. Yeah, my parents were upside down. They were they had a house that they had 450 out on, and it was worth like 200 to 250 when everything fucking.
I think in California, or I don't know if it was a federal thing, but didn't they let you knock off the
some of them, they tried to let you modify them.
Yeah.
My mom thought she was modifying through Wells Fargo, or maybe it was Bank of America, and then they foreclosed on the house.
Oh yeah, it was something.
No, so she thought she put in the packet for modification, and Obama. Well, I was getting to Obama. So all this happened under Bush, right? So we're not even dealing with Clinton and shit. But I'm saying we're old enough now that we've seen the game played a couple cycles, like, so fucking we have that artificial boom, 2008. We have to they say it's going to take about 10 years for they're like, don't worry guys, you just got 10 years of equity in your house. Just if you're going to hold hold long term, and we're right back there. 2014, 16, we got to pre-recession levels. But you realize that like these booms, people skim off the top, and when you're at the bottom, people skim off the bottom. So you're basically just fluctuating the market in order to skim off the top. You're basically churning butter and skimming off the cream off the top. That's that pattern. There's these patterns that like replicate in different systems and in different, and we're all kind of doing the same pattern. If you think about just the wave of like whatever like the wave of energy is that we're all kind of riding, but like that's definitely so like the 2008 crash, Obama came, and you said, didn't you have a modification that you could have done for the house? Well, he could have. There were ways to stabilize the economy by, if the housing market was really causing all the chaos, keep the people in their homes, take all that money they gave to the corporations and put it at the bottom of the economy to support it from above. And that would be like saying to people like, my parents, you guys could stay in the homes and we'll just get you back on track. And then you can insure them. You could basically handle all their risk and all of their worries, but instead you went to the top of the economy, handled all the risk and worries of the biggest. And the claims are like, well, they would claim that they're smartest people, but that's kind of like racist or structurally like these were the most privileged mostly. And also if they're the smartest, they're the ones who were a part of all these enablers of this crisis. Then you can claim, well, this is the only way to do it, but with new technology, how is that true? I think we have the technology to sort of like handle in a sophisticated way supporting the bottom of our economy, because we're not talking about everyone, we're just the homeowners, and then some way to like enter them into a system of risk and lending that is just as lax as you gave the banks. You gave them like interest-free loans and free money until they got back on their feet. And if you did that, those people, we would have empowered the bottom of the economy who have probably better values, and then we would have seen a better world. But instead, we empowered the people at the top of the economy, have worse values, and now this is the world that they've created. So after 2008, we've had this other, and then that gets into tech, because I was thinking, all the money was given to the banks and everyone at the top of the economy to stabilize the economy. They did somewhat, but a common complaint during the recovery is that money was tight. So the government gave the banks money, but they didn't induce them to have to lend it out to small businesses. So banks just shored up their own liabilities and fucking invested in the future so they could scheme off the next fucking craziness, which is what they're doing now with the fucking 2008, 2009 is when Bitcoin came out.
Oh, is it? I don't know a lot about Bitcoin. That sounds interesting.
Well, that's what the next concept that can be good or bad, but what we're noticing is a trend of artificial agitation of the economy to skim off the profits. It's very simple. And so like these bubbles, and they say it's a boom and bust cycle, but how can you quantify in a textbook something that is created through the greed of individuals? And they say, well, because everyone's greedy, but some people are greedier than others, and some people have the ability to like enact that greed more. Like these aren't economic laws, these are vested interests which specifically get together in a cabals to fucking create cons over and over again, and you just have to start policing them, you know, right? So anything that Obama did, even if it was half-step measures, Trump's taken off. It's not that Obama corrected the incentives, but he at least papered over them a little bit. Now Trump's taking even those off. So it's like all the anxiety I had before about a bubble happening is like with Trump is like, I think everyone's kind of feeling that. And then also we already still have to have a correction from the Obama era. So like, I feel like that's my rant about economics, trying to get it all out there to try to like visualize it. Like if you like put the narrative all together like that, I don't know, there's an instigation for that or something. What were you saying? You probably didn't even ask me any question.
I don't remember how that started.
My bad.
That's okay. I probably asked something.
I try to like just see if I could try to explain the world, just to be like, does that make sense, like to myself? And I'm like, I don't know, somewhat. Fucking, what is your slogan gonna be? You said empower, identity.
I don't know. Like what is the slogan? Like definitely like
What are you trying to do?
Unity.
Trying to get people to vote.
To vote. Trying to get young people to vote and know like. With the gun, with the Florida gun school shooting, like all those kids that stood up and like
all nationwide, they're all protesting.
Like
little
that's
shits. They should be.
I mean,
they should be in school studying.
But they should. You probably would have for 75% of them to vote before, but now they need to be educated. Not they need to be, but they should, in a fun way, like. learn what's right and know you have a voice. So that's empowerment.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Try to like. They just got pushed into the political sphere. It's really easy for them to just like fall out again.
Right.
We had that in 2006 during the May Day marches for immigration. We had immigration all the way pushed to the political sphere, and then like it fell out until Trump used it for the negative. But like back then, like you only have a window. You could probably quantify it.
Right.
You have like maybe a year. It'll be like our hot thing this year.
But also now there's women, so that's where like time's up. So that's a big movement too. And then immigration seems like it's still very hot. Like the ACLU just.
So you're thinking coalition of interest? Like what are these?
Is that what it is? I don't know.
Yeah. That's how like politicians look at it, as like. These are like all voting coalitions, and so they like they work to try to like secure the voting coalitions of like.
But bring them all together, and.
I like the original one, the kid one, because that's not like a coalition based off of interest. It's a coalition based off of people, like.
Yeah.
Because all those people could think different things, but like, their main thing is like the guns, but also like the guns are. I don't know. I'd always go out to like the guns are an example of the political structure in decay, and that's why you kind of have to step outside of it. So without any political discussion, without like acknowledging that you have to abandon both parties, to me is like feels
abandon both parties.
Yeah, it feels unhealthy, because these are the parties that give all of our problems. We have to put at these parties' feet. That's the only honest explanation I have, is that like you have to say that the gun problem is a Democrat and Republican problem. Like all of these issues, like there's nothing. I don't think there's anything redeemable in either party. Like I don't.
There might not be totally. There definitely. But
so that's a decision you're gonna have to make. Are you gonna have any parties there?
Well, it's nonpartisan.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, but like originally, like in the plan, I would have people from all. I mean, I don't know how many relevant parties there are, but at least Democrat, Republican, both like equally. Maybe.
My advice would be don't invite any politicians and don't mention any issues. Yeah. And if you keep the energy and the vibe, just like vote, that's enough. If you just say register to vote, that's enough. But why exclude anyone, and why bring any division when most of these issues are about division, and most politicians? Like why, if your energy starts off right here, why bring it any lower? Any of those other concepts are lower energy. Like, because if it's, because I believe in that, like I believe in those convergences and we're all looking for it. They're not going to decide to vote out because come out because like, oh dude, they're talking about fucking. Right. I'm gonna go to that Black Lives Matter concert, man. Yeah, they throw good concerts. It's like. Yeah. Young people voting is enough that people will know what the politics are about.
Yeah. Okay.
I ain't have to. Yeah. Now, what you can say is like, you can advertise through them, but that's like a way to like, that's like a fine balance I'm still trying to think about. It's like, if your thing is non-political, but you advertise through political vehicles, but still when they come to your thing, it's going to be non-political, but that's how those people find out about it and come. Yeah. And you want to do that because you want them to find out about it. So you actually like, you want to like affiliate yourself, and that's where that type of thinking about all the political coalitions comes in handy. Yeah. That's really a marketing discussion. Yeah. It's like what, like the Me Too and this and that, because that's like do I know someone who can get this on Ellen or Oprah type. Yeah. And that's how you would get those coalitions. And for your marketing, you're just like, all right, did I make sure that this was visible to these coalitions within that 2 time frames you were saying, 2-3 month time frames?
Yeah. Well,
who's your marketing guy?
I have Ogilvy PR, a guy there who is like helping with that, but I still sort of have to put together like what I have to do is put like I was thinking if I stayed here, like what would I do? I would definitely put together.
If you stayed here longer,
yeah,
you're already like, all right, so
it's the energy of being here just seems like
as long as you're being productive.
Yeah, that's it.
If you're creating and you're making stuff, then it's working. Yeah, that's what I tell the girls too. As long as the house is serving you, but if it's not, we got to change it up.
Yeah, definitely. No, but I want like a brainstorm team. I don't know how many people, but of all thoughts for like to meet twice a week. Like Ogilvy, they would host it in one of their conference rooms, and then I get those Ogilvy PR like that. Maybe the bigger people there would be interested. I feel like it would just the synergy of everything is just really super easy for this, and it's just a matter of like.
New York is really cool for synergy too.
Yeah,
It's so easy to meet people here. You can have like 5 meetings in a day.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. But have fun like brainstorming meetings. I don't know at Ogilvy PR and like really.
There's a WeWorks right down the street on 7th Avenue, and it's an awesome one. They have a huge bay garage for the downstairs you can rent, and then they have 7 floors, all with their separate conferences, and you could do it like by the day. So if you ever want to meet somewhere and have your own event. I think they don't rent it that expensive, a couple $100 for their big bay, and it's like a firehouse.
$200 for the big bay.
It's like it's a warehouse, but it's like if you could imagine a warehouse bay with a big roll-up doors off of fucking Soho. It's like a, but yeah, New York's the type of place where if you could envision that, and then you have to do something, you can definitely pick and choose and create something here. New York's like Legos, a bucket of Legos.
Totally.
Whatever you want to make, you probably pick it.
Yeah, and like that place you were just talking about, it would be cool. You could do like pre-party, like next month have a party. And see,
fuck yeah!
Like, for volunteers.
Yeah,
to come and
that's
see
a good idea. And then you haven't even like gone and explored House of Yes and other really cool scenes around here. They're like up and coming, but they still would take someone. I've known friends who fucking rented it out for their birthdays.
Yeah.
I say friends. There's this girl. She was a client of mine, and like, I don't know. I should hit her up. She was really sweet. She's from Miami. She started her own business, dancing to DJ music, to like house music, and so she is called. It's up the street, but they have DJs, and then oh no, that's an interesting concept. I think that's cool when people make their own business. They're just like,
yeah, definitely. It's funny.
Totally. Taking off. Well, your business is profitable, right?
Well, this concert, yeah. I want to donate $1 million from tickets, like over the four organizations, $250,000.
You let the people vote for who you donate it to, and that's the basket of coalitions or something.
But so
that's how you sort of get your values out there without being heavy-handed with it.
Let them vote for their own and not partner with the 4, because to partner with the ACLU times up, like the 4 organizations, you have to guarantee them a certain dollar amount. So
you already had them on the table? That's like something. Okay.
Yeah. But for this, which I like better, which is like, buy your ticket, pick your cause.
Yeah.
And they can, like, do you let them pick any cause, or am I listing
actually,
like
over your left shoulder? There's that green book.
This one?
Yeah. So that's, I think, the best management style is the best gardening style. Those are very similar patterns.
One straw revolution.
Yeah, and so like, less decisions you make, and the more organic it comes.
Yeah.
The solution, and you know that intuitively is your whole approach to morality or whatever. And so like, so that voting, if you can make it more inclusive, then it's less top down, and that's the more that the values and the morals come from the top down, then it's not going to really like grow. So like maybe, and sometimes you don't always, like, you try to do the voting things and people fuck with them, but if you could help people express their interests, they're going to be more actively participating in. And then also it'll be a more representation, because one of them might far outpace the others, and you're like, oh, I'm glad that I let people express that.
Totally.
Because you would other stuff.
So let them do that, pick their own.
So that guy does that with gardening. With like, he tries to let like the land revert back to itself with as little intervention as possible, while he's still getting his crops out of it. And he actually gets pretty. His yields were like comparing to fertilizer and shit, and he wasn't using any of that, but he was just trying to work. That's how the Native Americans did it in North America. They actually induced certain plants to grow more that they liked. And the Great Plains, they think, might have been created by the Native Americans, so they could chase big game into open fields. But like, it's farming in such a subtle way. We don't call it farming because it's not that we have civilization and we have like barbarians or wildness. We might just be very blunt, and they might have just been very subtle. And that was their wisdom, is they were like the best managers, the best leaders. You don't feel it's just like,
it's not micromanaged.
Yeah, and I feel like intuitively, like when you work with people, you probably try to aim for the best, because you're inherently lazy, because we're potheads. We're like, we don't want to work that hard. I don't want to fucking fight people. I want to like learn how to just get them to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So as farmers, the same way. That's why so many farmers are stoners.
Oh, that's funny.
When you learn to work hard, you also learn to appreciate laziness, because you know when to work and when to. That's part of, when I go to the island, there's a farmer over there I'm going to hang out with for a little bit. Beekeeper. You don't have to read it, but it's a cool.
I was reading highlight.
Alright.
Like,
I don't know if I highlighted it or if that was someone else.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I do that too. Like, I'll skim something. Also, in my mind, I'm like, how much time do I have? How much do I want to contribute to this? Maybe. But I've learned that at least glance a couple seconds, because if you put it off, you'll never get anything. Invest 5 to 10 now, and maybe that's all you ever did.
Yeah.
Try to be.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I thought you were working on something. I was like, the type of work Joey does isn't like busy work. It's like trying to figure out, go into that next step or that next. You got like a timeline. You're like, all right, as long as I solve these ideas within this time frame.
Right.
So
I'm good.
you're still in your big picture time frame.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, so if I stay in New York, am I going to be productive over that time? So it's not just indulgence.
Exactly. And I have been good. And yeah.
That's hilarious. So when I go to Puerto Rico, I was going to take some books with me to do some political, like a couple of books, the ideas I've been thinking about, actually read a book sentence by sentence and break it down. What is their argument? Write that down on legal paper. Write down my argument to make sure you can actually, 5th grade English idiot proof it, because it's an important argument. But that takes time. So I was like, that's a great thing to do away from distractions. Because I could go with 4 books, but that's actually 2-3 weeks worth of work. But so I always try to, if you're going to go do something, not just indulgence, but you're actually being productive.
It makes you feel better too. I feel bad when I'm not doing something.
Exactly. Well, that's how you get peace. That peace and purpose, it's all related.
Right.
Like, peace gives you, wisdom's a source of peace. Peace is a source of strength. And wisdom comes from feeling like you want to contribute. It's not wise to really not do anything.
Yeah.
But if you could figure out how to contribute in your own unique way, that's the best life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I always was striving for. Is if I could just make money off of my writing, then I could just live, and then just every now and then monetize it. It's like you're living a nice life. Yeah. Every now and then you just cut a slice off and you sell it to pay your rent.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
That is that's the idea about these party things. Yeah, you show people. I like the idea I had about food. Making, gathering, I don't know, we'll see.
The fasting?
Yeah, fasting feeding. You're tell me when we're eating and I'll come.
How long do you have to fast for?
Dude, that one would be a couple days. That would be a volunteering a lot of people together to try to achieve higher state of consciousness through fasting. Kind of like you, I was getting the same vibes when you're bring young people together who are politically caring, and now I just want to help them get into another headspace. A good... you can be, that's why I try to talk to people. You could be like how you smoke weed, you could be responsible and smoke weed. You can fucking be caring and passionate, but also, you're a good example when you meet people. They're oh yeah, you fucking, what do? You do a cool thing, and that's motivating. Do you do any mentoring for young people?
Do I do any mentoring for young people? No.
You'd be good at that, probably.
That's interesting. Maybe after the concert. Definitely something that would be interesting to mentor. I feel I need also mentors though. Do you ever feel that sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to tie into well, that's why I read so much. I went last year. I did a 50 audiobook kick or something. And fucking that's so. I don't know. Actually, yeah. So that's why I can't have a mentor, because I'm too stubborn. So I'd rather just seek it myself. But if you're gonna do that path, you have to voraciously you should. I mean, I think what's his name is big on that. Warren Buffett too. Read 500 pages a day, but you should be consuming information voraciously if you're trying to jump into the head of the stream. If life is a wave of human actions combining to form a society, there is a tumbling of cause and effect. And if you want to jump to the front of that, you have to catch up on the story. And that's what recently, since December, I was I had my opinions, but let me catch up to the recent story. And I've been digging deep. It's fucking, I don't know. You don't gotta do that for this concert, dude. You just need a couple. Well, you know what? Your philosophy is going to determine your marketing. So that's going to determine or do you have that, colors and branding?
I mean, red, white, and blue. I don't know, but it could also be.
That was easy. No, a couple eagles, a couple stars, and we're gonna go.
Right. No, I still don't have. That's one of the things that has to be done by April.
I'm super fascinated on just how this type of thing executes from idea to completion.
It's gonna be fun. I can tell you that. Everything that I've done for it has been super easy and well received, and just it's supposed to happen is how I feel.
Well, that's when you're tapped into that energy. Then when you come along, people it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I feel I'm on the ride So I don't even know if I need to like think too hard to figure things out, or if they'll just come together, like as they're supposed to come together.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. And then, like, if you give yourself enough time, I found. If you give yourself enough time, your brain usually figures it out.
Yeah.
Because it even comes up with the backup plans. And, like, you also make your peace with, like, if you have to actually question your assumptions. But that's what I tell my clients. I tell them stress comes from surprises. So as long as you give yourself enough space not to be surprised, which really is just time to really think about your possibilities and make contingencies for them, then you should never be stressed. You're just, the more time you put into a problem, the slower you... like the lower the difficulty level, it seems like it's just, life is hard when you're like too fucking
pushing it.
Yeah, exactly. And some people, that's kind of ironic because they feel like when they're anxious they just want to work harder, and it's like it's an ego thing. You got to be like, no, you just need to like
relax.
Create more. Yeah, exactly. It's counterintuitive to that's exactly where I feel like the world is right now. We're at that point where this is starting to become a self-reinforcing cycle, this negativity, and that's what war is, I guess. War is the end result of a self-reinforcing violent cycle. Because war just pretty much, what's the definition for war except exhausting of violent resources, violent alternatives. War only ends once you end all the violent alternatives, which is pretty much like I either annihilate you completely and you have to give up. Wow, so ego of man from an individual level can create, also manifests itself at a social level in a form of psychosis, which can be self-reinforcing to the point that it's terminal. That like you have to get to the point that it actually, you would eradicate a species, and then they surrender, and the surrendering of an ego. So war in its effect is like a mushroom trip. It's ego death, but it's just us acting out ego death at the social level.
Totally right. That's interesting.
So, and that's why these guys who are romantic and heroic about war, like, we need to do it, blah blah blah, because they recognize it has a healthy power to it.
To the end.
But God is fucking like. That's a very barbaric way to fucking...
Yeah,
exactly. Can we get to the ego death without having to actually get someone... And anyone who would question that like type of argument is like, what the fuck do we call it? Surrender. Like, you're literally... What is greater ego than telling someone that, like, I am above you? Like, you surrender. You fucking... And then you drop 2 atomic bombs on them just to make sure. Like, fucking...
Yeah, that's not good.
That's an interesting idea. I don't know. Hopefully we're not. Hopefully it's not that crazy.
No, I feel like we're at the cusp for like a revolution for good.
Yeah, that's what you were telling me when you first got in here.
Yeah.
That's where you got to keep your mind. I'm inherently optimistic. But you know why? It's because you have to, like, if you truly think you're on a wise path, you accept that your happiness is within your domain, no one else's. And then that's why you can't ever get too stressed out.
Right.
Because it's not a choice. It's just like my reality is framed in such a way that I'm the master of it. And so I couldn't possibly be stressed out. I could be temporarily in a certain state, but those aren't my preferred states. And I know what my preferred state is. So to like kind of accept a fatalistic view of the world would be to like give up my preserved state. And I really like my chill state.
Definitely.
Like, it served me well. It's brought all the good women and friends in my life. And it's created all my music and culture.
It attracts good things.
Fucking, what is a good state of the world? I don't know. I'm trying to culturally, like in the 70s hippie movements, I like those were like definitely good states when like people like culture was just ready to party. 90s now looks like a fucking party state.
Yeah, different kind, but
I like the fucking I don't know. Our age is gonna be remembered as an anxious one.
Right. I like the hippie fests.
You know, do you take Xanax at all, or?
No, I mean, I'm not, I like Valium. Xanax kind of makes me depressed, but not on a daily basis.
Valium, how's Valium make you feel?
Like floating and happy.
So just as you with a little bit extra?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a seasoning.
Yeah.
It's like salt. Salt doesn't taste like anything. It adds flavor. It enhances other flavors.
Yeah.
Valium is the salt of the brain.
That's interesting.
I want to try some. Is it addictive or?
They said it's addictive, but like I've never been like I need it. But also I naturally have a more calming. I don't feel like I need it all the time. I've had like 30 pills that have lasted me like a year. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh shit. I like to have drugs like seasonings around. Like I'd even love to have some cocaine around, just to fucking like, because when you need it, it does work. Yeah. And then if people are like, you'll get addicted, let me figure those relationships out. But like. Yeah. that would just be an interesting life to actually be able to use the whole pharmacopoeia of our mind.
Yeah, whenever you, yeah.
It's I mean, that's the only adult way to look at your biochemistry. Any other way, you're ceding authority to another. That's just that's so weird that people just accept that. They're just like, it's okay to fucking. I never experienced. That's what I don't get about weed. Like, you never experienced getting high, even if it's not your thing. You want to like try.
Yeah.
But you can't try all drugs. I guess you can't try heroin. You can't try.
You can't, like, if you tried heroin, are you immediately addicted to it?
No, actually, I want to try it, but like, I want to try it in a clinical setting. That's one that I respect enough that I would do as a part of a study. I'd be like, dude, let's get some fucking heroin studies just to actually see what happens to you. I'd be happy to. So I think, but I would go into it knowing that I might come out of it like kind of having it in the back of my mind for the rest of my life.
Really?
Because I've known junkies enough to like know that some of them it's a daily struggle. So what if it just happens with my genetics or my personality that like afterwards I'm like, it's like. Introducing addiction in your life, I think, is like introducing a relationship that can be like, it's always in your heart if you really love someone.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
You carry the emotional scars in your brain. And so, like, you could get better and heal. And I've never really been addicted to anything hard, but, like, from my interactions with people, like, you gotta, like, you grow out of that, but that's still a part of that, whatever you were. And heroin apparently is one that, like, from the first time, that might have those types of impacts on you. Mushrooms is like that. Your first mushroom trip, you'll probably remember for the rest of your life.
Remember it.
But it doesn't have that inducement, like you don't have that desire to do it again, like compulsively.
Right.
What's something fucking? I don't know. Drugs are true. See, but you can't talk about that at your concert.
No.
Your concert's like that's like up here, and your concert's like, dude, we're just trying to like get you out of the house. Which is kind of like one of the things. It's like get out of the house and talk to each other if I could do something. Well, fucking, I like the idea about that theater. That was cool. And camping? You said there's going to be camping?
Yes, there's a camp site right next to the concert.
It's like a baby burn.
Yeah, it could be like a baby burn.
That's
hilarious. I know.
You know, if you could get people like, it would be cool is I love convergences of ideologies. Like get all the Black Lives Matter and the fucking Me Too and everyone, and then get the burners too. Get everyone. Get up because that's why Occupy was good. Occupy was like a convergence. We had like Guy Fawkes mass there.
Yeah.
We had fucking people who would be supporting Trump. We had Tea Partiers there. But we had like a library where we had college kids who were just anarchist librarians. We had a Camp France, and they were just some French people who wanted to live on the street with us.
That's funny.
We had the anarchists who also lived with the communists because they're pretty aligned. They were the most ideological, like, I don't know, they're funny people, calling everyone out. And then, and then we had like, but this isn't the scene, this is just a couple days. But like that type of like.
But it was like all those groups of people, like I'd love that as like the photo, like one advertising thing, like literally all of somebody representing everything. Yeah, I don't know how that would happen,
but you know what? That's why I'm saying the less you talk, the better your cause.
Yeah.
Because you're doing something that we all kind of know has to be done. We know that any type of solution is going to involve a lot more young people registering. So that's enough. So like anything else you say is going to maybe taint it with divisiveness that we're all trying to get over. So like just by creating the space for us that we know has to be created anyways, and anyone who's not registered, that's a good reason to go. And yeah, I think that's enough.
Yeah, and it'll just...
You got to trust that people know what to do.
Definitely.
Or else why? That's the whole point of democracy. Democracy at its heart is you trusting that people know what to do when presented with choices.
Right.
And isn't it funny, like culturally, that's what the narrative is they're trying to convince of the opposite of. They're trying to, all of our cultural narrative is that people are too stupid to choose for themselves when given the choices. That's the whole blasting of Trump. Any negativity about Trump, well, not any, but a lot of it is against his supporters and how they're idiots. And that's not, those aren't democratic ideals. That's like, but we don't want to go down that slope. I wouldn't even, I mean, you haven't even thought about it, mentioning him or anything, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. Definitely not. It's not anti-Trump.
Exactly. Open up that can of worms.
No, it's like people that voted for Trump, bringing everybody together.
To do what, though, is the question.
To fall in love with each other. And make the right decision.
That's a very good... There you go. And so you just got your slogan. That's going to be your culture. To fall in love, bring people together to fall in love and make the right decisions.
Yeah.
That's a good... If they could take that away from it. But that's what it is, yeah. Fall in love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could probably make it shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Fall in love and make the right decisions. Fall in love and choose. Fall in love and vote. That's a really nice slogan.
Fall in love and vote. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
Fall in love and vote. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fall in love and vote. Yeah, that's good.
Don't do one without the other. Yeah, you know. You and it's kind of like that's where it should come from. Love is the heart of any like.
That's it.
Che Guevara would say like love is at the heart of any revolution. And fall in love and vote.
That is. Like,
that was a very good. I could see that in Texas looking cool.
Fall in love and vote. It's the new.
And you know what? It's gonna be in the fall. So it
fall.
Just it's gonna be cool for like the imagery.
Fall in love and vote. Totally.
Yeah. You're like basically planning in the season.
Fall festival. Totally.
So that satisfies my desire to tap into the subliminal.
Right.
No. I don't know why, but it's just a slogan stuck in my head, and you're looking at the fucking seasons changing. Fall in love and vote. Everyone's gonna be using. That's the thing is, if you could claim the coffee fucking fat middle, that's what they do is they do it top down. So you've noticed any major president of the past couple of years will meme a couple fucking sayings into the consciousness. So shock and awe. I was really sad that actually took off artificially when I was young. When we did that, I was like, fuck, dude. That so like they really just top down the shit. And then what was it? Cut and run became one. So you couldn't talk about fucking cutting and running in Iraq. Everyone used that. It's like one person uses it, and then fucking what was Obama's line in the sand? He tried to do the red line, but no one remembered it because Obama's. Everyone who's met him says he's a little bit of a weak personality in some respects, and so he fucking so that didn't take. But what else? I guess. Well, then again, he won the marketing award for his 2008 campaign, which was Hope. Hope. Right. Yeah. And then the second one was Change You Can't Believe In. But he did a good enough job with the economy. We were scared enough that people jumped in, but that wasn't a good one either. Fucking. And then Trump is getting it, and I'm like, you're really using fake news? Why would you let this guy popularize any terms? Like, call it what you want, but don't use the words he used because he's a moron. Like, this is an imbecile. Let's not use the words he used. And we laughed at it because they were words they used. Like that he used. We were like, fake news? That's not a critique. That offers I feel more stupid for just hearing you say that. Like that offers nothing to the discussion and only takes my time, of which is limited on this earth. So literally, you just marched me 2 steps closer to death under your own idiocy. You like, but no, that's all over the place now. Fake news this, fake news that. They said that are your anxiety? I just read an article this morning. Are your anxieties fake news? And he has a couple more he's been saying. I mean, he's
fake news is the biggest one. I don't know what that means.
Fall in love and vote. Shit. So I don't know how strong it is because it should immediately come to mind, but
fall in love and vote.
It sounds nice. Bounces off the tongue well.
Makes people smile about it.
It makes me it makes you smile because it's kind of quirky. Yeah. It's just quirky enough, just like cute enough to be flirtatious.
Right.
That's what it is. Also, if you could channel...
Could be on the side of the buses that go by Manhattan, around Manhattan, fall in love and vote.
You know what the nice thing about that is that the punch is at the end. It's like, you put the politics at the end of a nice sentence. Fall in love, because you don't really know what it is until you hit the end. So it puts them in a nice place.
Love and vote. You're like,
oh. yeah, that's what it makes you. It makes you go, oh, that's what you did. Like when we were saying it. I'll ask Davina. Now we need the objective. This is how you brainstorm. Now you have to get the objective. Hey, Davina, what do you think about this saying? Yes or no? Yeah, you go for it. It's cool. Sounds good. Good copy. All the love and vote. For his slogan, for his get out the vote campaign. Cool. She gave me like a 70% yeah.
A 70%, yeah.
Yeah, she didn't say no right away. And she definitely seemed a little confused, which is, I think, where you want to be in this current marketing landscape.
Right.
Confusion is actually better than acceptance. Because acceptance, you'll burn your fire too quick. Confusion is a slow burn, which allows it to go viral. That's probably like some marketing dumbasses in some room will be like trying to convince some like client of that. But like, if you Yeah, because you could be passed around as quirky and a bunch of other stupid shit. Or you could be commented on. You could be criticized. Because if it's not perfect, some people will think that you could have done better. But then that creates their own discussions.
Yeah, totally.
Now it's getting all, yeah. It's good. You should make a note of that. Run it past a couple more people.
I like it.
Look at that. We have business meetings every morning. Very good.
And it's been kind of a fun ride, because when we built Reddit, we didn't really have any of this in mind. So a lot of these communities are created, well, all of them are created by our users, and the cultural norms of each community are set by the users. And so it's really, one way I describe Reddit is we're fulfilling the promise of the internet. We're fulfilling the promise, which is to connect people around the world, regardless of kind of geographical or societal barriers.
The number one national hazard of attack on the homeland in West Virginia, America, or anywhere else. So, I mean, it really almost makes you ask the question, would it have been better if we never invented the internet?
And so here at Draper University, it's all around
entrepreneurship.
And at one point, you know, Reddit had to start somewhere. You were a first-time entrepreneur, and you teamed up with Alexis.
Yes.
The de facto homepage of the internet.
That is what we try. We used to say that tongue-in-cheek, but I think we're actually getting there.
I would definitely agree with that statement.
Funny, because Reddit is like, what did you call it? A reflection of society.
Yeah,
right?
it's very much we think of ourselves as a reflection of humanity.
Right. Yeah, but it's a very ugly reflection of humanity.
And the whole kind of techno-anarchist, libertarian, we don't need to make money vibe on Reddit, that came from me when I was 21. You know, I've grown out of that.
Yeah.
But the average time on that ad was 13 minutes. It's like that sort of thing is unheard of online.
Yeah.
Money is freedom. Money is freedom. Money is freedom.
How much money are you making then?
Plenty.
Plenty. Really? Are you rich?
Well, we sold the luxury of not really having to think about money most of my life.
That's awesome. That sounds like you're rich.
Yeah. With Condé basically making the first investment.
And they're still a shareholder?
They're a shareholder, yes.
Ah, so you can't talk shit about them.
You know, I've known them my entire professional career, so I actually like them.
Oh, you like them?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
This is how fast things can die on the internet, especially when you're, you know, a social site, when you're beholden to users. Like, they can actually leave. Facebook has done us a huge favor in making people accept inline native ads. Like, that ad format is so very good. And so we'll probably do more or less the exact same thing.
We know all of your interests, you know, not just your, you know, the interests you're willing to declare publicly on Facebook, but, you know, we know your dark secrets, we know everything.
So. Oh my God. Gotta delete my account, yeah.
Yeah, try it. You'll be back.
Yeah.
We have some recovering to do.
All right, okay. That's hilarious.